Security camera footage from an alley usually doesn't yield anything particularly noteworthy, but this clip turned out to be nothing short of astonishing. The camera's owner never expected to witness what many have called a miracle. At first glance, the footage is puzzling. A young girl in a red coat stands in the alley, appearing to wait for something, perhaps a friend or a ride. But suddenly, she bolts out of frame, clearly terrified by something just off camera. When the camera owner first reviewed the footage, they were confused. What had startled her so suddenly and so intensely? Curious, they rewound the footage to the beginning, trying to make sense of the girl's sudden reaction. And that's when everything became clear. The girl had been walking alone through the alley, likely on her way home, when a car pulled up beside her. At first, she seemed to pay it no mind, but then the car door opened and a masked man in a hood stepped out, clearly intending to kidnap her. The girl immediately recognized the danger and began to back away, visibly panicked. As the car started to reverse, presumably to make another attempt to grab her, something completely unexpected happened. A stray dog appeared around the corner and charged toward the vehicle, barking furiously. Its aggressive response startled the would-be kidnapper and the driver, who quickly sped off. The dog didn't belong to the girl, nor to the building, nor the camera owners. It was truly a stray, arriving at the exact right moment to stop something terrible from happening. The footage quickly spread online, and the stray was hailed as a hero. Had the dog not appeared, it's frightening to imagine what might have happened to the girl. It was an unbelievable moment of timing and instinct, an act of courage from an unlikely protector that turned a potential tragedy into a story of rescue and relief. Tor Eckhoff, known to millions by his YouTube alias Apetor, was far more than a typical travel vlogger. With over 1.2 million subscribers and nearly 400 million views, he became a beloved figure on social media thanks to his unique blend of breathtaking Norwegian landscapes and jaw-dropping, often dangerous stunts. Apetor's videos were never just about showcasing Norway's natural beauty. They were about testing limits and embracing the wild. Whether it was skating on fragile ice, plunging into freezing lakes, or taking swigs of vodka in sub-zero temperatures, Eckhoff had an unmatched zest for life that captivated audiences around the world. On his 57th birthday, he uploaded a video titled, "I am not dead, I am 57 today." In typical Apetor fashion, it featured him sitting in what looked like an icy outdoor tub, drinking vodka, and doing the risky antics his fans had come to love. Tragically, no one knew this would be the last video he ever posted. Just a few days later, on November 27, 2021, Eckhoff was filming another adventurous video at Jakobsdam near Kongsberg, Norway. The ice gave way during a skating stunt on a frozen lake, and he fell into the frigid water. Witnesses heard his cries for help and quickly called emergency services. Divers managed to pull him from the lake, and he was airlifted to Ullevål Hospital in Oslo. Despite the best efforts of the medical staff, Eckhoff passed away that same day. He had been submerged too long for doctors to save him. News of his death sent shockwaves through his fan community. Just days earlier, he had appeared full of life, celebrating another year in his signature fearless style. Tributes poured in from fans worldwide, expressing how much joy and laughter his videos had brought them. His longtime partner, Tove Sherwin, shared a heartfelt message on Facebook, calling the loss indescribable and thanking him for their unforgettable moments. Though Tor Eckhoff is no longer with us, his spirit lives on through the countless videos and memories he left behind. Apetor may be gone, but the legacy of his boldness, humor, and love for life remains unforgettable. On July 23, 2016, a family visiting Beijing's bustling wildlife world found themselves at the center of a horrifying tragedy after entering the Siberian tiger enclosure in their car. The incident began with a dispute between the passengers. Zhao Jiang became irritated with her husband's driving and insisted on taking the wheel herself. Security footage captured what happened next. The car slows to a stop near a patch of foliage within the enclosure. Without any obvious warning or hesitation, Zhao steps out of the passenger seat and walks around the front of the vehicle toward the driver's side. Her body language is tense, clearly reflecting the argument that had just taken place inside the car. But as she leans into the vehicle, a 400-pound Siberian tiger suddenly leaps from the underbrush. In an instant, it clamps its jaws around Zhao's neck and drags her backwards into the grass. Her husband quickly jumps out, shouting in panic, but freezes as the tiger disappears into the foliage with his wife. Within seconds, Zhao's 57-year-old mother, Li, bolts from the car in a desperate attempt to save her daughter. Despite the roars echoing through the enclosure, she charges ahead, completely focused on retrieving Zhao. But a second tiger had been stalking the road nearby. As Li approaches her daughter's now limp, partially obscured body, the second tiger intercepts her mid-stride and tackles her to the ground. Park staff arrive quickly in a patrol vehicle, using air horns and revving their engines in an attempt to deter the animals and stop the attack. Despite their efforts, the assault continues for nearly 20 minutes. By the time the situation is brought under control, Li has sustained catastrophic injuries to her face and neck and tragically dies before paramedics can reach her. Against all odds, Zhao survives the brutal mauling. She suffers deep lacerations, spinal damage, and permanent facial scarring. But she lives. The family had signed a safety waiver that explicitly forbade exiting vehicles in predator zones. Zhao later claimed the park failed to clearly explain the rules, but the park cited visitor negligence and faced no legal responsibility. Though Zhao filed a lawsuit alleging poor emergency response and inadequate safety warnings, the case did not result in any liability for the wildlife park. In this video, taken from a CCTV camera stationed in a Chinese supermarket, we see customers going about their day, searching for the items needed to complete their shopping lists. As seen in the footage, an older woman dressed in black is drawn to attention when an item in the background suddenly falls to the ground. While it's common for objects to topple over, perhaps due to a push from behind or vibrations from above or below, what follows begins to take a bizarre turn. After the fallen item is returned to its original place, the woman starts behaving oddly. She appears to be in pain, groaning as she slowly slumps to the floor. As nearby patrons rush to assist her, a sudden and forceful burst erupts from within the group, strong enough to visibly push nearby items off the shelves. Some viewers have pointed out similarities between this scene and reported instances of demonic possession. The woman displays several traits commonly associated with such reports: low groaning, expressions of pain, and loss of muscle control, as seen when she collapses to the ground, unable to remain standing. In this rare case, the incident is accompanied by what appears to be a paranormal phenomenon: telekinesis. The burst of force that scattered nearby objects suggests the presence of some unseen energy. Whether this was truly a demonic event or not remains unknown. But in the final moments of the video, the same item that initially sparked the reaction falls again, perhaps, just maybe, in search of another victim. Just after midnight on a September night in 2019, an officer with the Albuquerque Police Department was on his way home when something unusual caught his eye near 4th Street and I-40. He noticed what appeared to be a routine traffic stop. An SUV pulled over, with a supposed officer questioning the driver. But something didn't sit right. For starters, the traffic officer wasn't driving a standard police vehicle. Instead, he was in a civilian car outfitted with red and blue flashing lights. Even more suspicious, the man was wearing plain clothes, not an official uniform. His only indication of authority being a strange, star-shaped badge clipped to his belt. And perhaps most striking of all, he looked incredibly young. Sensing something was off, the APD officer decided to intervene and asked the man for identification. The so-called officer introduced himself as Brendan Wysinski and claimed to have been with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office for 3 years. He said he had pulled the SUV over for allegedly speeding at 120 miles per hour. But as the APD officer pressed further, things didn't add up. Wysinski couldn't provide a proper law enforcement ID. His birth year, 1994, didn't match the vehicle's registration, casting further doubt on his story. His lack of standard equipment and uniform only deepened the suspicion. Eventually, Wysinski came clean. He confessed he wasn't, and had never been, a police officer.
Alright. I'm just gonna be straight up honest with you. I'm not a cop.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna be.
Where'd you get that badge from?
I bought it offline.
Okay. Do me a favor, stay in here, okay? For a second.
The badge he carried had been purchased online, and he had made up the entire backstory in an attempt to impersonate law enforcement. His goal? To scam drivers and potentially collect bribes. Wysinski was arrested and charged as an adult with impersonating a peace officer. During questioning, he shifted his story multiple times, at one point claiming the badge belonged to his deceased father, though this couldn't be verified by the sheriff's office. In the end, investigators were left with more questions than answers. Wysinski had clearly lied about being a cop, but the full extent of his intentions and actions remained a mystery. On April 4th, 2020, Ernest Wilson went live on Facebook during a house party. Without knowing, these were his final moments live. Ernest was a 24-year-old warehouse worker living in Baltimore, Maryland. The only passion he had in life was for partying, playing board games, and turning them into drinking games. Unfortunately, the 2020 pandemic and the subsequent lockdown closed every public venue he frequented. So, he decided to take matters into his own hands and came up with an idea. He would rent Airbnbs, host an invite-only party, which he referred to as game night, charge a small fee to cover expenses, and have a good time with his friends. These parties started off small, but quickly grew in numbers as more and more people became aware of them. On April 3rd, he went on Facebook to plan another party for that weekend, asking, "Should I do game nights again this weekend? And we're playing hide and seek at game night tonight." After receiving enough confirmations, he decided to go ahead with the plans and announced a 2-day game night with free entry for girls and a $5 fee for guys. Not long after this announcement, he also made a post about bringing uninvited guests, stating, "Please don't show up with nobody I didn't personally invite. If we didn't discuss it first, they're going to get left outside." Maybe he had experienced problems with uninvited guests at past events. Or maybe he simply wanted to know the exact number of attendees ahead of time. But in hindsight, his concern makes a lot more sense. As the night approached, Ernest started the event, and it went just as well as he could have hoped, with everyone dancing and having a good time. That is, until 2:30 a.m., when the group decided to play the hide-and-seek game they had discussed earlier. Ernest took charge as the first seeker and began a countdown in the Airbnb's backyard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
However, as soon as he started searching for his friends, he stumbled upon something completely unexpected.
1, 2, 3. Who the is that, G?
I don't know.
Get your on the other side of this gate. Who the? This can't be one of my friends.
He saw someone trying to jump the fence and break into the property. The correct response would have been to go back inside for safety and call the cops on the intruder. However, Ernest was already a bit under the influence at the time and made the biggest mistake of his life. He decided to confront the man on his own. That's when things took a turn. The intruder was armed, and after some back and forth, he tragically shot Ernest before fleeing the scene, all of which could be heard on the live stream. The police arrived at the property at 2:45 a.m., where they found Ernest lying in a pool of his blood. According to the few statements released to the public, this appeared to be a case of a robbery gone wrong. However, some believe there was more to the story. This is because, during Ernest's struggle with the intruder, a girl can be heard laughing in the background. As the story goes, this girl was an accomplice of the intruder, who planned to either rob the place or eliminate Ernest for some reason. One person on YouTube even wrote, "That girl tried to let someone in the front door, or she knew who tried coming through the door." Once discovering it was locked, she told them to hop the fence. As clear as day, I would start with her boyfriend. Unfortunately, from what I can find, the police never caught the suspect, and Ernest's case remains open to this day. So, whatever their motive was, I doubt we'll ever know, especially now. On January 31st, 2013, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, mysteriously vanished while staying at the infamous Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Tragically, her body was later discovered in one of the hotel's rooftop water tanks. To this day, the strange circumstances surrounding her death remain a source of deep intrigue and speculation. Elisa's disappearance began on January 26, 2013, when she arrived in Los Angeles as part of a solo trip along the west coast of the United States. At the time, she was a student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Although she had taken a break from her studies to focus on her mental health, something she had openly discussed in her online blogs, Elisa remained determined to travel, assuring her parents she would check in with them daily. 2 days after arriving in LA, she checked into the Cecil Hotel, located near downtown Skid Row. Initially, she was placed in a shared room, but due to complaints from her roommates about her unusual behavior, such as leaving notes that read, "Go home and go away," she was moved to a private room. This wasn't the only sign of troubling behavior. She had also been escorted out of a live taping of Conan in Burbank for being disruptive. On January 31st, Elisa was scheduled to check out of the Cecil Hotel and travel to Santa Cruz. But that day, she failed to contact her parents. Alarmed by the silence, her family reported her missing to the Los Angeles Police Department. Police launched a thorough search of the hotel, including her room and even the rooftop, using search dogs, but found no trace of Elisa. On February 6th, a week after she vanished, missing person flyers featuring her photo were distributed locally and online. drawing public attention to the case. Then, on February 13th, LAPD released eerie elevator surveillance footage showing Elisa's last known moments. In the video, she appears to behave erratically, pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, making strange hand gestures, and seeming to hide or run from something unseen. The footage quickly went viral, captivating viewers around the world and sparking widespread speculation. Some believed she was fleeing from someone. Others suspected she was under the influence of drugs or experiencing a mental health crisis. The video's lack of a visible timestamp led some to question whether it had been edited or altered. Not long after, guests at the Cecil Hotel began to report issues with the water supply, low pressure, discoloration, and an unusual taste. In response, on February 19th, a maintenance worker checked the water tanks on the roof and made a horrific discovery: Elisa Lam's body floating inside one of them. Her body had to be removed after the tank was drained and cut open. The exact circumstances that led to her death remain unexplained. It is believed she somehow ended up in the tank shortly after her last sighting in the elevator footage. Hotel staff had previously described Elisa as friendly and cheerful, and just before her disappearance, she was seen at a local bookstore, ironically named The Last Bookstore, where the owner remembered her purchasing books and music as gifts for her family. The autopsy revealed no signs of trauma, sexual assault, or suicide. It confirmed that she had taken her prescribed medications used to treat bipolar disorder, though the dosage levels suggested she may have been under-medicating or had recently stopped taking them. No alcohol or illegal drugs were found in her system. The Los Angeles coroner's office ruled her death an accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a significant contributing factor. When the full report was released in June, it noted that her body was found naked in the water tank, with her clothing, matching the outfit seen in the elevator footage, floating beside her. The clothes were coated in a sand-like substance, and her watch and hotel room key were also recovered. Her body showed moderate decomposition, bloating, and skin separation, but again, no physical injuries. Still, the mystery of how Elisa accessed the water tank persists. Reaching the tanks was no easy feat. They were located on the roof, a restricted area equipped with an alarm system that should have alerted hotel staff if someone accessed it. To reach the tanks, one had to climb onto a platform and then up a ladder to access the top, where a heavy lid would have to be lifted. Even the maintenance worker, who discovered her body, noted how difficult the area was to access, making it hard to believe Elisa got there without assistance or detection. Following the discovery, Elisa's parents, David and Elisa Lam, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Cecil Hotel. They claimed the hotel failed to inspect and secure hazardous areas, thus putting guests at risk. However, the lawsuit was dismissed when the judge ruled that her death was unforeseeable, as it occurred in a location not meant to be accessed by guests. Today, the mysterious death of Elisa Lam remains officially unsolved. The strange nature of the case, paired with the haunting elevator footage, continues to fascinate and disturb the public. It has inspired countless online investigations, documentaries, and even fictional portrayals, most notably the 5th season of American Horror Story. But beyond the theories and media attention, it's important to remember that Elisa Lam was a young woman whose life ended far too soon. Her family continues to mourn, still searching for answers that may never come.